I've got over 35 years experience in the retail industry, 30 of which I've been running my own businesses. I've created a number of different businesses in this industry that we call commercialization, or pop-up retailing, working with major retailers and shopping centres across the United Kingdom and Europe, meeting some tremendously interesting people and working with some very fascinating characters. The thing I want to say about the businesses that I've created is that they still operate today in this space, be it with big box retailing, so people like our equivalent of Home Depot, it's called B&Q, or with supermarket chains, grocery store chains in the United Kingdom, and people like Makro, which is the Europe's equivalent to Costco. Having said that, Costco is also a client of ours in the United Kingdom, so just to give you an idea. We've worked with businesses big and small, from corporate sizes, so some of the businesses that you may have heard of are T-Mobile in the United Kingdom. We've worked with Virgin Mobile, which is one of Sir Richard Branson's businesses in the UK. Sky Television, which is, anybody know Sky TV? Yeah, so Sky TV is like Comcast, is that right, Sally? Yeah, like Comcast here, so we work with Sky TV, as well as people like MasterCard and Visa and Volvo and you know, big businesses like that. At the other end of the scale, we've worked with some really small and start-up businesses and individuals as well, and I'm going to tell you about some of those in a moment, but they range from things like somebody that sells light bulbs, literally just light bulbs, fluorescent ones, small ones, big ones, neon ones, blue ones, red ones, green ones, whatever it might be. People that sell emoji cushions, people that do jewelry, all kinds of different products. Let's move on and make a start then on our 7 secrets to success. Now, as I said earlier, these 7 secrets aren't in any particular order, but the combination of them really makes pop-up retailing work. Okay? Any retail business, any business in general, should always be aspiring to having amazing customer service. Not good, not great, not nice, amazing. Okay? So for all of you in business right now, and all of you that maybe don't have a business, I just want you to think for a second what that means to you. What does amazing customer service actually mean to you? Just take a second to think about that. And then if you have a business, I'd like you to score yourself between 1 and 10 in your business as to how well you think you give amazing customer service. 1 being you're really pants at it, pants being an English expression, means you're rubbish. 10 being obviously you're awesome, okay? So just have a think about that for a second. Right, just at this moment in time, where do you think you are? Unless you've got defined parameters about what you're looking for with somebody and so on at the start of the recruitment process, then, as Darryl said, you know, people come along and are very enthusiastic at interviews, aren't they? You know, because they either feel they're right for the job or they naturally exude, you know, enthusiasm because of the situation. So we've worked with a lot of companies in terms of their recruitment process to define the right people. We've even done some psychometric testing with some companies to define, you know, exactly the right people. Within my own businesses, and I've built businesses and sold them to employees, okay, I've always tried to recruit people that were, in my opinion, better than I was, okay? Purely for that reason, because anybody know Michael Gerber? Anybody heard of Michael Gerber? Yeah, E-Myth Revisited. It's on my recommended reading list. Read E-Myth, okay? Michael Gerber purports that the whole reason for having a business is to build it to a situation that you can sell it. Yeah? Am I right? Yeah? Yeah, guys. Superb. And that, in doing that, you should be working on the business, not in the business.
Yes.
Yeah? So if right now you're a hairdresser, Is hairdresser the right word to use here?
Yes.
Yeah, hairdresser, right. So right now, if you're a hairdresser, don't go and open a hairdressing salon if you want to get into business. If you're a mechanic, don't go and open a garage if you want to get into business. If you're if you're a chef, don't go and open a restaurant. Thanks, Darren. Don't go and open a restaurant, because you will end up working in the business, not on the business.
Okay.
Right? You should be working on the business all the time, you know. And as owner drivers, yeah, as a one-man band, then that's really difficult.
Yeah.
Totally difficult. But as you grow, you need to be keeping that in mind all the way through. And we're going to talk about McDonald's a little later on in terms of process. McDonald's can get your kids to do things that you can't, right? Is that right? You know, they get arrive on time, tidy things up, put things away, and follow a process. And you're right, process is so important. Defining every step of the way so everybody understands not just about customer service, but the whole thing about a business. And I'm going to talk to you about an example of that in a little while. Customer service isn't just about when things go wrong, right? Customer service is about how your website is laid out, if you're an online retailer, how easy it is for somebody to buy from you online. Customer service is about the written word. And so I would encourage you, whenever you're talking to somebody, whenever you're talking to customers, listen, just when we have a break here in a while, and we will get to one, so don't worry if you're sitting there crossing your legs thinking, oh, what's going on? We smile, go up to people, smile, because it's infectious. It makes a difference. And will turn a situation round, believe me. Amazing customer service is so important, and I can give you a good and a bad example of that right here in Chicago.
Yeah.
A few days ago, we did some returns after Christmas. We went to Macy's to return an item. It took 45 minutes to return one item in Macy's. And it was a nightmare, can I tell you? It was unbelievably complicated. People weren't really motivated in what they were doing. It was kind of, it made for an unhappy experience. So much so I tweeted about it to Macy's and had a reply from somebody in an email that was really completely irrelevant to what I tweeted about anyway. Other end of the scale, we went across the road to Bloomingdale's, did a return in there, took 5 minutes.
Wow.
People were so, simple. And so it's those things that you take away. Amazing customer service will mean that people will say good things about you. Yes, please, rarely do people say thank you to me. So in conclusion, offer amazing customer service when you're in your pop-up environment, when you're in your business. Yeah, you understand what it means to them, should mean to them, and life will be so much easier. Our second secret to success in shopping centres is staff and motivation. When I bought my first business, and I had to fly to Edinburgh in Scotland in order to do the deal, because that's where the owner lived at the time. And I was going to be late back that day, having missed a flight. I hadn't said anything to my parents, and I spoke to my mother, and she wanted, I'd travelled anyway, and said, I'm on a flight back in Edinburgh, I'll be back late from Edinburgh. And she said, what are you doing in Edinburgh? And I said, well, I'm on the phone, it'd be all right. So I said, I'm buying a company. I'm buying Retail Location Mum, the company I work for. And she said to me, who are you to be buying a company? And that is in the back of my head every day, because I am who I am. I had every right to buy that company, and that's what motivates me every day. The sound of my mother's voice in the back of my head saying, who are you to buy a company? Some of you may have heard of called Woolworths. F.W. Woolworths, do you remember that business? Yeah? Global retailer of its time. And I managed to talk myself onto the management training course. Okay, this kid from North London, and at the time it was probably one of the best management programs that you could get on in the United Kingdom, okay? And one of the things that we were taught very, very early on about, being groomed for management, young managers and so on was, you never ask anybody to do anything you're not prepared to do yourself. But equally, you lead by example. Lead by example. And very, very early on in that career, I came into contact with people, managers and district managers and trainers whose values are actually, right embedded in me now, right in my core, and bringing people together as a team. One of the things that we used to do every morning in Woolworths, and bearing in mind we didn't open till 9 o'clock. This is trading before the world went crazy and we opened 24/7. We would all meet in the store at 8 o'clock in the morning. Around a bank of cash registers. So, think of the old press button cash registers. Anybody remember those? You really had to bash some of them to get them to open. And there would be an enormous pot of tea, this enormous kettle of tea, and this big pile of toast. And as managers, young trainees and managers and department managers, we would all be round this area, eating toast, drinking tea, and being given our assignments for the day from the store manager or his deputy, the general manager. Titles being so important. We had a general manager, we had a manager, we had a department manager, we had department supervisors, you had a stockroom manager, you had a stockroom supervisor, and then you had a trainee, which was where I was, right? And how we started that career, day one, managed to get onto this course, turned up at the store I was allotted to, day one in a suit, and a tie, when ties were fashionable, and thought, okay, this is going to be this. And they sent me up to the stockroom, and I spent the first 6 weeks of my career there in the stockroom. Regrettably, Woolworths isn't around anymore, not only here, and I know the impact that had on some of the communities around here. I think it devastated Gary. Somebody was telling me the other day when the store closed, and it's sadly gone in the UK as well. And it's gone because it didn't keep pace with people's expectations. But in terms of a concept, Woolworths was an amazing concept, right? But if you think about it, Christmas decorations from October through December, big January sales. You always knew when it was Christmas in Woolworths because the Easter eggs were arriving at the back door. That was one of the things that we said. Huge Easter egg displays and so on. And a really worthwhile way of introducing me into retail. And that's what in business, there's some nice things you get to do and there's some bad things you get to do. If you're working as a team, then you do become bonded, you do become friends. Isn't there some research out there somewhere that actually you spend more time in your working career with the people you work with than you do with your spouses and your children? So those relationships are really important, and that you need to rely on those people, same as they need to rely on you as a leader of a business, as an owner of a business. People look to you for the answers, and sometimes we don't have them. I've been asked questions in business. Who's been asked a question in their business, today that they really didn't know the answer to? I have, and you go away and you find out. You got to, because it's your business. So when I talk about praise culture, it's more around the rewarding of people. The morning. I worked did a job for somebody a few years back and was in their offices for a couple of weeks. Nobody said good morning when they walked into the office. Nobody recognised anybody when they walked into the office. I'm a big believer in that. And same as when people go home, thanking them for their efforts for the day and wishing them a good evening. All of those things, respectful things but maybe some of us have forgotten, but those of us that didn't realise that's what we should be doing should really be doing it. So when I talk about praise culture, it's not just money rewards, and money's a great incentive. I know a company that in a sales environment used to do Keep Your Job Week. It was called Keep Your Job Week. If you didn't hit your sales target, you lost your job. It's not really a great way of incentivising and motivating people, but sometimes it works, who knows. But anybody heard of a guy called Julian Richer? You may not have done. Look him up. Julian Richer is in the Guinness Book of Records for having the most profitable sales per square foot of any store in the world. He's written a book called The Richer Way, Julian Richer. It's on my recommended reading list if you want to get a copy of this. Our next secrets to success is maximizing the opportunity. We know who Simon are, Simon Malls, General Growth Properties, CBL, spend millions of dollars with attracting customers, with marketing campaigns to drive footfall into their shopping malls, okay? Campaigns at Christmas, cleaning, the whole thing, millions of dollars every year, so you don't have to. Yeah, if you're on a mall, if you're down the centre of a mall, or you're an inline store, they've already spent a lot of money attracting what we call anchor tenants. People understand what anchor tenants are? Yeah, they're the big stores, the big footfall drivers. So they do all of that, so you don't have to. So they're already driving, thousands and thousands of people to you every week. So you really should be maximising that opportunity. And when we talk about that, it's very basic things like making sure you're open when the shopping centre is open. Yeah, how often do you walk through places where, at 10 o'clock in the morning, there's still a cover over a kiosk, or there isn't anybody, there isn't anybody at their RMU, or their pop-up stand isn't there. And bear in mind, obviously you're paying to be there, right? In some instances, when you're retailing, they might take a percentage of your profit as well. Okay, so why not maximize that opportunity? Why not be open all the hours that you possibly can? Now, I was asked about marketing as well, and where we're going to cover marketing, and we're not in any great detail today going to cover marketing around being in shopping centres, but if you want to talk about that, I'm happy to discuss that after today. But you should be, as a matter of course, making sure that your stand has good signage on it. Maximise the opportunity of all the lights and so on. Make sure that you're visible, people know who you are. Make sure that you have contact details if you're doing pop-up stand activities. Websites, telephone numbers, email addresses, so that you can maximise that opportunity. Make sure that the stand is the best that it can possibly be. Why? Because you want to make that connection with your customer. We're going to talk about merchandising a little later on, but these guys are spending all this money just to open the doors, so take advantage of it. Tweet about it, Facebook it. Whenever I talk to companies about who are interested in going into shopping centres, they always want to know how many people go through the centre. Yeah, it's a natural, how busy is it? Yeah, is it 320,000? Is it 100,000? Is it whatever it might be? And I appreciate that that's kind of a number that would give you some line of working out if it could be successful for you. But as a business, if there's only one person on your stand or one person on your RMU or kiosk, you can only ever talk to one person at a time anyway, right? You probably guessed I'm an optimistic person, right? For me, the glass is always half full, right? So there is never a bad time to be in a mall, because when it's quiet, you have more time to talk to a customer. Yeah, more time to engage with them, more time to tell them about your product or understand their needs or get to know them. When it's busy, of course, you're naturally busy because people are buying from you. That's why pop-up retailing has become so successful. Because when the economy is tight, people are looking for bargains and they're looking for excellent customer service. And so you can engage with the customer really quickly. If you're on the mall, they don't have to walk through a shop door to talk to you. They're walking past you. You can engage with them all the time. When the economy is flourishing, of course, people are spending money naturally anyway. And so you're there in front of them and they can see you. Now, if you're an inline store, if you're a pop-up store in a high street, main street, or in a shopping centre, then of course you do need to market your event or what you're doing or how long you're going to be there. Okay? You might want to do that by doing some local newspaper advertising through putting it out there on the web, doing some leaflet drops when you arrive, even out there if you're doing restaurants or food, out there doing sampling and so on, just to attract people and bring them in. But bear in mind, you want to make sure that everybody understands what you're trying to achieve within your business. And I'll give you a classic example of this. Quite recently, I walked into a store that had written on its door in big bright neon paint, "Ask us what's new in store." Okay? So I walked in, quite enthusiastic, big counter, 3 or 4 people stood behind the counter, and I said, "So guys, what's new in store?" And they all looked at me completely blank. Another mad Englishman in our store. And I went, "It's on the front door. What's new in store?" They still looked very blank, and after a few little whispers between, somebody said, "Oh, I think we have a new brand of coffee or something today." Don't really know. So, and that's holding them back, right? That's holding them back. If you're going to do stuff like that, if you're going to do promotions like that, you've got to make sure everybody down the line knows what you're trying to achieve. If you're trying to get people to ask what's new in store, expect them to come in and ask what's new in store. Expect to have the answer. Expect to know where it is, what it costs, where you can find it, how you pack it, how you sell it. All these factors you need to take into consideration. If you're make sure your stand is the best it can possibly be. If your shop front is in a high street or in an inline store, make sure it's the best it can possibly look. The big doesn't necessarily have to be best. The next secret for success with pop-up retailing will come as no surprise, I hope, to all of you, and it's just like buying a house. And Taylor is smiling about that because that's probably what he's preaching all the time. It's location, 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 right? And it is so important. And we've just been talking about people spending lots of money opening stores and opening shopping centres and things. But when you look at the location, is it the right demographic? Is it the right throughput? Is it the right part of town for what your product is? Do you know your customer? We're going to come to that in a moment. Just because you have a successful retail merchandise unit or kiosk in one shopping centre, I don't know if anybody has one of those right now, doesn't necessarily mean that the nearest shopping centre 5 miles to the right of you or 5 miles to the left of you would be successful for you as well. Because the customer base could be totally different. Do your customers like to pay with cash? Do they like to pay with plastic? All different things that you need to take into account. Location as well, in terms of where you sit in the mall. Yeah, if you're in a high street, then and the store is in the right part of town and is in the street that you want to be in, then you should be looking at who's either side of you as well. Is the space the right size? When you're in a shopping centre doing an RMU or a kiosk, is it in the right part of the mall? Is it close to, if you're doing mobile phone accessories, is it close to electronic stores and GameStop and people like that? If you're doing jewellery, is it close to fashion? If you're opening a store for a short-term high street event, is there good parking? One of the things that's destroying main streets, actually, and I've come to realise it's here as much as it is in the UK, is the complete lack of parking for people. But how can you hope to stimulate a local economy if people can't park their cars and go shopping? Yeah. In my opinion, Macy's is failing right now is because very early on they didn't realise the importance that actually customer service and delivery would make a difference to their business. In fact, their outgoing CEO of last year is on record as saying, Amazon won't be around for very long because how are they going to deal with returns? Right? There is some research out there that I think it's over 78% of people actually do still want to touch and feel and experience a product before they buy it. So, it's absolutely true. What does that mean for you? You're one of the 3 billion other opportunities that I've put in front of people in the last 29 years in order to sell to them. That's your point,
the Amazon, as great as it is, and I can tell you from personal experience, I think the cracks are actually starting to show a little in Amazon just at the moment, because my last 3 deliveries, 2 have been late and 1 didn't turn up at all. Right? But that's just my personal experience. But my point is that they've pushed the boundaries. They've pushed retailers to really think about, being online and offline.